Good afternoon, everyone. I am so sorry for the small delay. Our quality assurance manager uh, saw that we were talking, but couldn't actually hear us talking. Um, okay, so the technical quote unquote the technical difficulties are no longer uh plaguing us. Currently, we only have two of our hosts right now, but I'm sure at least one more will join here shortly. So, before I get into everything, I have a small introduction. I wrote this up and I wanted to be very clear about what's going on right now. Um, so, we're diving into three interconnected concepts that are essential to understanding the oppressive nature of the modern state: the thin blue line, civil asset forfeiture, and qualified immunity. These aren't just abstract legal terms, they're tools of a system built on coercion, a system that, from an anarchist perspective, is inherently illegitimate. We'll be exposing how these concepts, when combined, work together to form an efficient machine for a police state. We'll discuss the thin blue line myth and how it justifies police violence. Then we'll explore civil asset forfeiture. Uh, Hold on. The game theorists? What is this? Um oh, yeah, it's still showing starting soon because I haven't changed the screen, Ro. Um so we'll discuss the thin blue line myth, how it justifies police violence. Then we'll explore civil asset forfeiture a bit, which is basically legalized theft by the state. And finally, we'll examine qualified immunity and how it places police above the law. These are not isolated issues, they're intertwined, creating a system of state sanctioned oppression. And today, we're not just describing problems, we're showing how they reveal the fundamental flaws of the state itself. Given that, I want to go ahead and introduce my two co hosts that are currently here. First, Natalia. Uh, please say hello. And then, of course, my friend from the South, Liz. Say hello, Liz. Okay, so before I get into all of that, all of that discussion, there's some news that I need to shoehorn in at the front of this discussion, being the fact that the man was nominated to a department of the government dubbed Doge, aka Dogecoin, the meme coin for cryptocurrency. Elon Musk. Elon fucking Musk pulled some. No, go ahead. Yeah, I made about $20 on Doge. Yes, I did. I did make about $20 after I lost 90. I wasn't going to talk about losing the 90. I just wanted to say I got the 20. Okay, so Elon Musk came out, let's see, Thursday, 8 o'clock, Thursday. That's Central Time. And said this: just a reminder that the algorithm is trying to maximize unregretted user seconds. If far more credible, verified subscriber accounts, not bots, mute or block your account compared to those who like your posts, your reach will decline significantly. Well, that's a form of social credit in which the only person or the only people that get to decide if someone is worth listening to are the people that Elon Musk approves of. Uh-huh. So, oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did not hit that button. Now she should be able to hear everyone.
Hello again, I'm Liz.
Hello, I'm not.
See,
Okay, what were we saying? Oh yeah, right.
this is what happens when I keep getting interrupted when I'm trying to produce the show, which is why for the next podcast that we're creating together, I'm only producing. I'm not hosting.
That makes sense.
Okay, I was just saying she was going to go to Truth Social, so it's okay.
Yeah, so Elon said when he bought Twitter, he claimed he was buying it for free speech purposes, and it's something I've noticed over the last 24 hours is that he has started to cast aside people that he brought back because he didn't think it was fair that their speech was being curbed by the old people who ran Twitter, and now he's casting them back into away from him into the dark, and not allowing them to speak. Ms. Laura Loomer said that she canceled his subscriptions and sent a message to all of her subscribers
And
that she had
he
done it.
took her blue check mark too.
And he stole because she paid for that. Listen, Ms. Loomer paid for that check mark, okay? And he happily sold it to her. She was somebody that he liked up until yesterday when he capriciously decided that he no longer wanted to be friends.
He's about to run into, or he's about to run face first into a class action lawsuit if he keeps taking check marks and subscriptions from people because they paid for that shit. And while he has no actual obligation to pay them for the revenue that they've brought in, technically speaking, he does have an obligation to leave their blue checkmark because that's a service that they bought.
And that's true too. He also runs the risk of being one of Ms. Loomer's new public stunts. I recall the last time she lost her Twitter account, she handcuffed herself to the front door of Twitter until she had to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question.
Absolutely.
Okay, theoretically, now Elon Musk does get sued. Could Trump just drop it?
No, it's
Okay,
a civil
don't
action.
you-
The government can't get involved in civil actions. Now they can file what are called amicus briefs, which are also known as briefs from friends of the court.
Friends of the
And
court, okay. That's how
well,
we call it.
that's what amicus is a friend of the court. And
Just call it a bribe.
Well, no, that's not how amicus briefs are. If anyone was ever caught bribing a judge while also handing in an amicus brief, there's a lot of fucking trouble going on.
I'm sure. But okay, I'm just saying, I think he's actually like so fucked if there is a civil action lawsuit because he can't just call Trump to dismiss it.
Yeah, so
Honestly, the reason he's so fucked is because everybody that he's handling is also a capricious asshole. And I suspect that if there comes an opportunity to throw him under the bus after all of these President Elon Musk jokes, that Trump will happily let Elon get trampled over by something.
so this is not the only thing that Elon has gotten in trouble for in the past 48 hours. Um, he
There's
has
more?
also. Oh yeah, there's more. Have you ever heard of an H-1B visa?
Oh no, no, I do know. He said that Americans are idiots. I was explaining this to my mother at breakfast today. How and then Vivek pulled the whole you people are poorly socialized and that's why you can't achieve as much as my people on Americans, which um fun. It's fun to hear the racism come back at us.
So,
I honestly
uh,
thought he would just be violating labor rights again, but I'm pretty sure this is about him like defending visas against literal Nazis who didn't think are actually believing Nazis who would
the
oppose allowing immigration. So there's
the
that.
the the problem is, and I don't know if Liz has experienced this, but I know that I have. I was ran out of my field of study, which was network security, back in 2014. Now, all of these job postings had gone up for entry level, managerial level, and, higher managerial level positions, all of which that I qualified for in 2014, but I could never get a job. I went on 50 fucking interviews. No one wanted to hire me. And the positions never got filled, except for when the company found someone from India or South Africa or from Japan that wanted to come over and work for a lower rate than what I generally would have asked.
There's a lot of that. I because I work in community management and so much of it is cultural. I've actually managed to find like a niche field for myself that I seem to be becoming respected in, strangely. And so I'm not running into the same problems that I was when I was breaking in. I came in through SEO and marketing, and that is something that people love to outsource, and the jobs dried up pretty quickly.
Well, and it's the
Okay,
reason
can I?
why it's the reason why those of us in tech have greatly suffered in our wages, and why especially like people like my brother, they can't get promotions or raises for shit. My brother worked for about $25 an hour from 2014 until just last year.
And I think that because I went in through being like a techie and marketing, like that's the only thing that saved me. Marketing has a female bent to it, in like
Uh,
the area that I ended up going up into the position I'm in now.
Go ahead, Nat.
One actually just. I say this is just kind of inherent to capitalism. They're always going to choose the cheaper labor.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
This
I
happens. This happens all around the world, but like the US is notorious for it because it's a place everyone wants to be. I mean, like what I want to say is that actually, funnily enough, I live in one of those places in Europe where uh, a lot of tech jobs gets outsourced to, and I can say like the pay isn't at all equal to the West. It's like half
Oh
of what
no.
you'd get paid if you actually worked on spot.
Well, and in places like Serbia, not only do you guys get paid half of what we would normally get paid, but the people that run these companies that get contracted out to do this shit, they take the majority and pay you half of what they got.
No, but like most of the companies that run here, I'm pretty sure just EU companies because it's easier to run EU business in in EU countries. So
Yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
they do it instead of like going and outsourcing to India, which is something that I've heard the US does more of instead of outsourcing to Eastern Europe because it just doesn't matter at that point, really. Either way,
Okay.
you're going to have to deal with restrictions on
Yeah,
some level, so you
absolutely.
might as well pick the cheapest.
So this week's topic of, government overreach, yeah, I'm sorry, government overreach, government corruption, um, from the get-go. I mean, the name of the podcast itself today was the unchecked power of the state. The thing that started all of this is this video from Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Now, most of us remember her being the uh, press liaison for Trump when he was in office. She is now the
Mike
governor
Huckabee's
of,
girl, right?
huh?
Mike Huckabee's girl, right?
I don't know. Um, she is currently the governor for Arkansas. And I have my own issues with Arkansas, but there's some special issues with Arkansas, especially Little Rock. But I'm going to play this video for everyone, and I want everyone to see this, and I will show you my biggest issues with Arkansas. Let's take a look.
It's official. Arkansas is the top state to move to in 2024. That really shouldn't be a surprise. Lowest cost of living in America, and my administration has cut taxes 3 times. We're investing in our schools, we're cracking down on crime, and we're standing strong against the crazy left-wing policies that are ruining states like New York and California. If you're fleeing a blue state to come to Arkansas, we're excited to welcome you. Just don't forget why you left.
Well, there's some good reasons to leave Arkansas. You don't have to see the rest of this.
I
It's just fucking
never in my
propaganda.
life has anyone said to me, Liz, I'm moving to Arkansas.
No, and there's a reason. Have you ever heard of a man named Jeff Gray?
No.
Okay, so Jeff Gray is uh is a YouTuber who goes around throughout the country, especially down in the South, and stands in front of places like City Hall. And you understand why City Hall has such an importance in free speech, correct?
Hmm.
It's one of the most traditional public forums where people generally congregate in order to redress their grievances with government, be it state, city, federal government. The steps of City Hall are one of the most quintessential public forums. And you have the most protection under the First Amendment in a traditional public forum. So earlier this year in September, Jeff Gray, he's standing outside of City Hall and he's holding his sign, and his sign says, God bless the homeless vets.
Ooh, good one.
There's nothing offensive about this, especially considering that there is a large population of veterans that are fucking homeless.
In every city I've ever lived, it's a shame on our country.
It absolutely is. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up.
You cannot be on government property, and this is state government.
So I am conducting an investigation, so therefore I don't want you to catch a petty charge for obstruction.
Yeah,
So
I don't want to either
stop.
because I'm engaged in free speech and
I
without
got
me.
you. But now I'm here though.
Yeah, I'm not giving my ID.
And well, then you're about to be put in handcuffs for obstruction until I further figure this out, man.
You can either go to the sidewalk, sir, if you're out here soliciting for money, or we're going to take you for loitering for the purpose of begging.
This is the steps of City Hall and I'm staying here. Unless you arrest me.
That's what we're probably going to end up doing it if you don't listen.
Okay, and if I don't leave the property, what's going to happen?
Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and transition back to Twitter because I actually cut up the major segments on this video. And we're going to go ahead and look at this. So this is Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, this is just in the past 4 years. Ever since 2020, these are protests that took place on the steps of City Hall in Little Rock, Arkansas. I cut the...
Why would you call the police on somebody saying God bless our homeless
Here
veteran?
it is.
Sir. Sir. Why would you do that? Can't you just leave me alone?
Okay, so first interaction is with the security guard at City Hall. They call the police. They think he's panhandling. But even if you're panhandling, that doesn't make a difference. It's still protected speech.
Security has asked you to leave and you won't. What's the deal here?
They haven't asked me to leave. They just said they're not sure if I could do this or not.
Okay. Do y'all want them off the property? So they do want you off the property.
Okay, well,
I apologize that they haven't let you know that. So.
Okay. Well, let me explain something to you first. What I'm doing is I'm engaged in freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly at the steps of City Hall, which is a traditional public forum. And if they trespass me off of this property for engaging in my civil rights, you're going to be held liable, and they're going to be held liable, and the city's going to be held liable.
With that being said,
Okay, so before I continue, let's go ahead and say hello to Haley. Hello, Haley. How are you?
Hi. Sorry I was late. I have been drinking my coffee and waking up for a couple minutes, but I'm happy to be here.
It's not a problem. Better late than never is what I say.
We were talking shit about Elon while you were gone, but we're gonna pick it back up later. Just for you.
Possibly. Possibly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit to get through today.
what you're doing though also at the same time is
Sounds
loitering.
good. What are we talking about?
Okay, so
We're watching cops be stupid.
Oh yes, we're watching cops be stupid.
So just all of their work.
The topic is government corruption and how the system is stacked against everyone except for the people that are part of it.
Yeah, that's generally true though.
Oh, about this all day.
Oh yes, but I have some very specific examples, and this all started, or this video that I'm showing started with Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying that if you came from a blue state and you've moved to Arkansas, just remember why you left the blue state. But I don't know why anyone would move to Arkansas, especially given the fact that in its capital city, Little Rock, this is happening. They're going to try to trespass this man from the steps of fucking City Hall. even to this day, ever since that day in September, there are people that have been on the Little Rock, Arkansas's Facebook channel and on the Little Rock, Arkansas's, or the Little Rock Police Department's Facebook channel, the Little Rock Police Department's Twitter, posting "God bless the homeless vets." Because that's the sign that he has says. That's what it says. God bless the homeless vets. Is that offensive at all?
Not if you're American.
Principle that they are being biased against you, being religious.
Okay, I'm hard to hear.
You're good. It's not the fact that you're a veteran or that you're pushing your religion. It's the fact that you're loitering right on the front steps of City Hall. So you can simply just step on the public sidewalk and it'd be that simple. What's your last name?
I'd rather not give my last name.
All right, well, listen. You're wanting me to contact all these people and all that stuff, so I am conducting an investigation. So therefore, I don't want you to catch a petty charge for obstruction.
Yeah, I'm not giving my ID.
And well, then you're about to be put in handcuffs for obstruction until I further figure this out, man.
So
It's not that serious, all right?
it's not. I'm engaging free speech.
I got you, and I'm doing my job.
Before you put me in post, like I said, contact the city attorney or somebody like that, because I put you on notice that I'm engaging
I got you.
constitutionally
Listen.
protected activity.
Are you going to give me your last name and date of birth and all?
What would happen if I don't?
Obstruction.
What does that mean?
It's you're either impairing or hindering or prolonging my investigation. You want me to contact city attorney and all this? I need to know who I'm speaking to. I'm not just going to call all these people and be like, "Hey, Jeff is wanting this and this to happen," when I've already given you a rundown of what needs to happen.
I'll give my ID under threat of arrest, but otherwise I'm not giving my ID.
What's your last name?
I'd rather not give my last name.
Okay.
If you're going to put me in cuffs and arrest me, I'll give you my ID.
I got you. Why are you making this so complicated, man?
I'm not.
Notice that he doesn't want to cross that line yet. He's alluded to the fact that he might arrest him, but he hasn't said clean out that he's going to arrest him because he knows in the back of his head, this person is not doing anything wrong. I can't arrest them for not providing ID. There is no reasonable articulable suspicion.
I think it might be just as simple as the predator seeing prey that's not acting like it's supposed to.
Making it
No,
complicated.
you are.
I am standing right here in front of this sign that's already blocking.
You can either go to the sidewalk, sir, if you're out here soliciting for money, or we're going to take you for loitering for the purpose of begging.
Take me for loitering?
Yes.
I'm
for
peacefully
loitering
assembling.
only.
Can you confirm what Officer
Mind you, in the state of Arkansas, loitering has a very specific definition, and it's to be somewhere aloof with no apparent purpose or reason. He has a very apparent purpose and reason. He is assembling, expressing his free speech. You cannot charge someone with loitering for free fucking speech.
Jackson before you make this decision? Because I will sue you if you remove me from these.
Don't do that.
I will sue
You're
you.
not charging me. Or
I will
anything
sue
else.
you if
That's
you
fine, sir.
trespass me from
That's
this
fine.
property.
Call your lawyer right now. That's fine.
It's not fine.
Now, if
It's
you
not
want to
fine. I
call
want you to
the
leave me alone and let me get my. This is the steps of City Hall, and I'm staying here, unless you arrest me.
That's what we're probably going to end up doing it if you don't want to listen. They're saying you can go and stand on the sidewalk right here on the front, but you're not listening. You don't want to do that.
These are the steps of City Hall.
On the front of the sidewalk, standing with your homeless sign.
I'm gonna stand right here because I have every right to do it. It's free speech and freedom of religion.
So there's a reason why he keeps bringing up these are the steps of City Hall. It's a traditional public forum. And I'm aware that most people here don't specifically know what or how the courts view all of this, but panhandling is completely legal. You cannot make laws abridging the freedom of speech. And so any laws that generally target a form of speech instead of all speech, especially when it comes to a form of speech on a traditional public forum, going to be looked at by the courts as under what's called strict scrutiny. And strict scrutiny basically says the government pretty much can't justify anything that they do, as long as protesters or, people begging or people just expressing a sentiment, as long as they remain peaceful, the government can't do shit. But that doesn't matter. That does not matter to cops whatsoever. And I wanted to bring that up, and I see that Liz posted his channel. And I think that you would get a kick out of a lot of his videos, Liz.
I have watched some of his videos before.
I
If you
love
had
his
said
videos.
the guy that gives cops a hard time, I would have known who you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's in the auditing community, there are a lot of us that give cops a hard time.
I was gonna say that's a pretty badass way to know someone. Like, if I were to die and all people knew about me was the guy who gives cops a hard time, like, I would feel successful in my life.
I aspire to be like that.
We have some issues here. Why can... Oh, that's why. Okay. There we go. Let's go ahead and try to open up the next one. Okay, so... Do you see this? This is a cop pointing his service weapon at a person riding a bike.
Cop shit.
Now, this video comes from Lackluster, but it's also a compilation of other videos from a different YouTuber, and said YouTuber is Charlie Dog 84, and this is San Antonio Police. Or DeSoto Police.
I'm just riding my bike.
I'm sorry, man.
Now look at you, bro. You're crying.
I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry.
Next time you come to one of our scenes, you start talking to us, I am going to arrest you.
Welcome back to the Lackluster channel. In February of 2024, Charlie was recording the San Antonio police making an arrest.
Mind if I go on the other side?
Just don't get too close.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to walk all the way around.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, man. Watch your back, okay? I ain't got no weapons, man. Calm down.
Come here.
Yeah, you was looking at me like it was a problem.
While filming, he noticed another group recording the incident as well.
Can I ask you?
That's a very important thing to bring up. He's not the only one recording. And generally speaking, especially in Texas, it's not a problem to record. Or at least it shouldn't be. It's recognized throughout the entire country. Every single circuit has ruled on this. It is generally a right to record public officials in the course of their duties.
How do you know about your rights?
Sorry?
How do you know about your rights?
We film the cops all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, you too?
Me too.
Right on.
What's your YouTube channel?
We don't have one. We're Brown Berets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it on Facebook?
Yeah. So we're on Facebook. We're Autonomous Brown Berets de San Antonio, and then on Instagram también Autonomous Brown Berets.
The other camera crew tells Charlie that they only film until a suspect is placed into a police cruiser, which is why the crew missed when the officers attack.
I film until they get him in the car.
Yeah.
You know.
I filmed it all the way, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to forward to when the cops get violent with him. So the cops involved in this are Officer Colton Richter and Officer Lorenzo Vela. And all they got for what they're about to do to this man is a 15-day suspension. According to the suspension records, Richter pursued the car against department policy and without a supervisor's permission. Richter intermittently used his emergency lights, drove his unit against wrong-way traffic, and drove more than 30 miles over the speed limit. Records show that Richter muted his body camera when they saw the suspect, and Vela muted his body camera before the call was over. Richter and Vela are both 3-year veterans of the SAPD, which is the San Antonio Police Department.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You better leave me alone. I was right here, officer. Oh! Oh! I'm not resisting. Stop!
Yeah, you tried to run away, so.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
All of this just for recording police. Thoughts?
I think that muting your camera and going after somebody recording you is learned behavior, and that they're not the only people on their police force that do that.
No, absolutely not. They're just the ones that get caught. And mind you, when they do get caught, all they get is a 15-day vacation.
Which I object to. Yes?
I think this absolutely proves what I always say, which is that the police is just state-funded gangs.
Absolutely. And that's what I titled this section when I started working on today's podcast. It's the thin blue line, fraternity or gang, and it's a fucking gang. It's absolutely a gang.
I think it's just like funny by saying, because if you like ever have seen police corruption, like real police corruption, is just gangs, like literally. What was it like that
I
one
think
investigation? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that one investigation where police officers were involved in smuggling over 20,000 illegal arms sales in the US. Because they would just like keep on buying arms, which are supposed to be, only for service members of like the military or the police, and then they would just like sell them off to, gun enthusiasts. And that's illegal, and they never got punished for it.
I think it's interesting when you consider who generally supports the police. And I feel like the overlap between the supporters of police and the people who claim to be about small government, I think there's a lot of overlap, and I think that's real interesting because you look at these videos and small government that won't let you stand on City Hall sidewalks and ride your bike around while recording them. It's pretty interesting to think about.
It's like literally they're like, only thing is just being violent and nothing else.
Look, I guarantee that every single person.
Not what I wanted. I don't know why that happened. That was
The
ridiculous.
police do things that if anybody else did, it would be a crime. When I was living in Philadelphia, there was a woman named Rakia Young that was picking up her nephew from something. And there was a protest nearby because the cops had once again shot a mentally deficient man, who I believe was unarmed. But anyway, she made a wrong turn, and when she was trying to correct her course, she got swarmed by a bunch of police. They pulled her out of her vehicle. They beat the shit out of her, and then they took her child and photographed him and put his picture online, claiming they found him wandering around a riot or a protest. I can't remember their exact language, and God forbid I besmirch the police's reputation more than they already ruin their own. But and they, like, nobody gets punished for this shit. It took like a year before anything happened at all. And even then they gave this woman $1 million, which isn't enough. Like, it's not enough for therapy for 3 people.
I
So
remember that story
It really pissed me
100%.
off. I called the
And I
Philadelphia Police Department and complained every day for months. Just
Yeah, and I think wasn't there also a racial component too? Like the photo op they did with the child who was a minority was like a white woman, so it was just a crazy
Oh yeah, the racial
event.
implication was that black people let their little children wander around with no shoes on in protest and near riots, which is offensive. Like, it was, they kidnapped her child and they used him for a photo op that was offensive towards her entire people. Like, the police are just disgusting, way too much.
so
They really are.
when it comes to Texas, there's a few very important things to remember. The first of which is you do have the ability to deny police access to your identity. The only time at which you have to identify yourself in Texas is if you've been legally detained for a traffic stop. Now, that does not apply to passengers in a car, that only applies to the driver. If you've been driving a vehicle and you are legally detained on a traffic stop and you are the driver, you are required to identify yourself. The only other time that you are required to identify yourself in the state of Texas is if you have been lawfully arrested. Before that, you can absolutely deny identifying yourself to police. It doesn't have to be just on your property. In public, anywhere that you can encounter police, you do not have to identify yourself. But in the past decade, or I think it's been about 10 years since this statute went on the books, Texas Penal Code 3802. There are still police that think that Texas is a Terry doctrine state, which it's not. And Terry doctrine is the Supreme Court's case in which they developed this standard of when it is and is not legal to detain a person. And the entire idea is you have to have at least 2 objective facts that would lead a reasonable person to believe that a crime has been, is currently in process of being, or is about to be committed. It doesn't have to be a specific crime that they believe you're committing. They just have to have 2 objective facts that would lead a reasonable person to believe that crime is afoot.
A lot of police seem to believe that that is them being annoyed. Those are their reasonable facts. This person annoys me is fact 1, and I
Yeah,
don't like it is fact 2.
but and that's especially the thing about Texas is it doesn't matter how annoying I am to you. You cannot get my fucking ID, so you can go suck it. I'm getting a little bit worked up.
Okay, I
Okay,
have a question.
Yes.
we all hate police.
Like, how come, like, this is like a universal experience with police? I feel like because it's like international, but how do they never know the laws? How do you
Because
even pass the police test without knowing the laws you're supposed to enforce, quote unquote? Of course, if it's a gang, but you know.
they don't have to know the laws. They have to vaguely understand Supreme Court case law or case precedent. Which is why whenever you talk to an officer and say, for instance, you're a passenger in a traffic stop and they ask you to get out of the car and you don't want to, they always cite Pennsylvania versus Mims. And if you're stupid, then yes, Pennsylvania versus Mims says that a officer gets to tell you to get out of the car whenever they want. But if you actually know the case, it's an officer who rightfully fears for their safety is allowed to pull you out of the car and do a Terry frisk. They may pat you down for weapons. And they may keep you out of the car until your detainment ends. Now, that still does not give them the ability to search your car, which some believe it does. It does not give them a right to search your person, which a lot believe that it does. It only gives them the ability to pull you out of the vehicle if they believe their safety is at risk. But most cops don't know that. They only know the name of the case, which is why they also only know Terry v. Ohio.
I was going to say, I think that big problem, in my mind, a lot of problems just in America in general and in the world come from a lack of education. And I think that always comes back to that. I think that look at it, especially in America, police don't get enough training realistically, like for what they're expected to do and like the role that they're expected to play within society. In any regard, as far as laws work, and also just as far as like using weapons and things like that. And the people in America are also uneducated as far as what the laws are. So I think that like the only way to solve any of this would be like massive education reform where we're teaching law to everyone. Because I also don't trust that police would not
all my kids.
turn around, manipulate the law to their advantage. They're uneducated about it as well.
So not only is this a problem with the police, but it's also a problem with laws. And the segment that we're transitioning into now is civil asset forfeiture. Now, the police are the long arm of the law. They are the enforcement. They are the goons that the legislature, the executive, and the courts use to twist the arms of the individual. It's a big club and you're not in it. Now, when the courts do agree with the citizens and say, yeah, this cop obviously broke the law, this cop obviously violated a citizen's rights, and now this citizen is getting money for the violation of their rights. Who pays for that?
Us.
Yes.
Not the cops, unfortunately.
Not the cops, because there is indemnification. Even when police lose qualified immunity, they're indemnified by the police officer and the police by the police department and the police unions. Which means the city pays, the state pays, the unions pay, but not the cop. The only time cops are truly held accountable is when they face criminal charges. And even then, there was a recent case out of Missouri in which an officer shot and killed a man in his garage, claiming that the man had a weapon, but there was no weapon on the body cam. It was a cover-up. And do you know what kind of sweetheart deal that cop got?
Paid vacation?
No. He did get charged and he did get convicted, but he got charged with involuntary manslaughter.
Girl.
He got
They play too much. They play too much. Involuntary?
Yeah, involuntary manslaughter. He was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. He was given a 6-year sentence to be served concurrently with the other charge of perjury, because they found that he and other officers doctored their reports to try to cover their tracks. So he got 6 years for involuntary manslaughter. He got 3 years for perjury. And do you know what else happened?
What?
The governor commuted his sentence in jail. He didn't serve a fucking day in jail. He serves probation,
honestly,
and that's it.
you could have convinced me this person didn't have, connections from being in the police force, because this is what always happens. That's why they never get convicted, if you ask me.
And the only reason why the governor didn't pardon him is because the prosecutor wrote him a letter very publicly letting people know, please do not pardon this individual. And the governor came out on TV and said, I had no knowledge of this case. Bullshit. It's all over the fucking news. States all around you know about it. There's no way that the governor of Missouri didn't know that this shit was going on in their state.
Oh, well, to hear them tell we've got the most illiterate politicians in the world. They'd never read nothing.
That'd be Arkansas.
You'd actually be surprised. That's a really big competition.
Oh, I'm just making a joke because whenever we go up to our politicians and we go, hey, did you read so-and-so's tweet? Or, hey, did you read this report? Or, hey, did you? And they always go, no, I haven't read it yet.
Like most politicians get in with connections, I assume.
So when
I assume no.
So when it comes to civil asset forfeiture, this is one of the methods in which they get money back or take in more money from taxpayers in order to subsidize their criminal ventures.
What a polite way to say their piracy. Excuse me.
Oh, it's not just piracy. It's state sanctioned racketeering. It is absolutely state sanctioned racketeering. Because they all come at it from, oh, well, I protect you. No, you don't protect us. You don't protect anyone. You don't have a duty to protect anyone. You have a duty to take money from us. That is your stated objective within the government.
Also, they seize our drugs and then they sell them.
Yes. Or if you're in Florida, they make them in the courthouse and then they sell them to you.
I thought it was only like a thing here. Apparently, it's also a thing there.
What, cops stealing your drugs and selling them back to you? Honey,
And
that's a thing everywhere there's
not
cops.
like not selling them back to you, but like literally having like a being drug dealers on the side and just selling them to other people at a markup, of course.
It's the natural progression. Like, they take the drugs. What are they going to do? Burn them? They can make money off of them, and they're petty criminals.
So
Unless, like, smoke them, take the drugs.
I bring up the cops making them themselves in the courthouse because that is what happened in '88 in Florida. I think it was Jacksonville, Florida. Don't quote me on that. And
Sounds like Jacksonville activities.
and the cops in the courthouse were making crack cocaine and selling them. Selling the drugs to people on the streets. And now one of the prosecutors or the district attorney in that area is now seeking to vacate all of these people's criminal charges that occurred before a judge ruled you can't make drugs and then sell them to people. That would be considered entrapment.
Call me old fashioned, but some things you don't need to be told.
Well, and that's hilarious because entrapment generally requires a person to say no initially. Like, this has to be something that a person generally wouldn't do, and the cop would have to try to convince them to do something against their nature. Which is
and we've
why
already established it's in cops' nature to sell drugs. That's why they do it all over the world.
If anyone remembers the Michigan governor abduction bullshit, there's a reason why those guys got off. And it's because the cops that were planted, or the Fed that was planted into the group, was trying to convince all of them to do it.
And ladies, just remember, if somebody starts coming up with ideas that don't sound fun to you, it's because they're a Fed.
Yes. Everyone is a Fed until they prove to you that they're not.
Or they got good ideas, because Feds never have good ideas.
And what if it's a foreign Fed? Does that make it funnier?
What?
If the Fed is foreign, does that make it funnier?
I don't know, does it? Erica?
I don't know.
Okay, wait. What do we count like a corruption officer from the EU as a Fed as well?
Are we having ACAB discourse of what qualifies as a cop again? Like, wait, what did you say the role was? Because it sounded like a cop. I don't know. The federal government is like the U.S. federal government usually is what we call Feds.
Corruption investigation officer from like the EU or something.
Listen, I'll just make it fucking simple. Anyone that is part of the government, be them legislature, executive, like a governor or a judge, they're all fucking Feds to me. They're all cops. They're all bastards.
And what I'm asking is, what if it's like it's like a separate governmental structure? So like someone from NATO or someone from like the EU, which are not governmental structures, but they're structures made up of like several governments as well.
They're still Feds. They're still cops.
Yeah, fair.
They're still bastards.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's what I was asking.
Okay, so civil asset forfeiture. This man lost $41,680 to road pirates.
All my dreams, all my life savings, he got cash.
And would he
The officer gave me a receipt, man, a piece of paper. No citation, no nothing. My name is Emil Woods. I'm from Natchez, Mississippi. I grew up in the country, man, hunting, fishing, riding horses, swinging through the bayous on vines, just country stuff, man. I have a racehorse here, and he's my baby. I took him in, and
So this man's story is basically, he grew up kind of poor, and he got with his wife, and his wife inspired him. She drove him to chase his dreams, and he built. They built together. And at one point, he told his wife, I want to be an owner-operator of a truck. And he found a deal for about $40,000, a couple states away from where he lived. He was gonna go and buy that truck. And his wife gave him money, a couple of friends gave him money, and he took all of his life savings. And while he was driving through Texas, the cops stopped him, and being the good citizen he thought he was, when the cops asked him, you got anything in the car, like money, lots of money? And he said, yeah. And they're like, how much? And he told them, got about $40,000. Carrying cash is not a fucking crime.
And it's
But
not something you need to tell the cops about.
No. When it comes to talking to cops, shut the fuck up.
Just say no.
Also remember, you didn't see anything.
Yeah. Didn't see anything. I need my lawyer. Am I being detained? Goodbye, officer.
Well, and this is not the only case in which someone has lost their entire life savings to road pirates. And this one, Haley is going to get upset with because it's one of our brothers.
I just wanted to tell you, Officer Brown, I mean, you're taking money out of my kid's mouth.
Sorry.
Or you're taking fruit out of my kid's mouth.
Like I said, we believe right now that this is drug proceeds, illicit currency.
Well, I'm going to prove to you that it's not.
Perfect.
That clip shows a retired U.S. Marine being robbed of his life savings on the side of a highway. He was not arrested for, charged with, or convicted of any crime. He wasn't even ticketed. This is a rare glimpse into an abuse of power that thousands of innocent Americans experience each year. Through a public records request, the Institute for Justice was able to acquire body and dash cam footage of an entire roadside seizure, from the initial traffic stop to the seized money being deposited at the bank. This is the most complete footage we have ever seen. On February 19, 2021, our client Stephen Lara was pulled over outside of Reno by the Nevada Highway Patrol. He was driving to visit his daughters in a small California town just west of Reno.
The driver of this vehicle was following that red and flew a semi-truck too closely, less than a second following distance.
Okay, so you take a look at this video. What have you already seen on this dash cam? Anyone? Bueller?
I feel like that there's a right answer, and I don't know what it is.
The cop is in the left lane and is not passing anyone. throughout the entire country, except for, I believe, 2 states, the law of the road is that if you are in the left lane on a U.S. highway or an interstate, the only time you can be in the left lane is to pass. Now, there's a reason why...
See,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm from Massachusetts, so laws of the road are unknown to us. So I don't know that I would have gotten that.
So, generally speaking, there's a reason why you would tailgate a semi. And that's if there's a cop sitting in the left lane that is not passing, not doing jack shit. Generally, you're going to wait for them to pass so that they can pace the cop, and then, they're not going to get pulled over. But if the cop's just sitting there in the left fucking lane, no one's going anywhere or doing anything. But eventually, our brother decided he was going to move into the left lane to pass the semi. And that's when the cop decides to pull him over.
Under the speed limit. Extremely odd. Stop them up here unless they are safe or whatever they talk to. Make sure everything's okay.
Yeah, initially I thought I.
So,
I will
if the...
say...
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Also, to the whole point of, like, he's following the truck too closely, you generally do want to wait until you're, like, right behind someone to pass a semi. I mean, I'm trying to get around those things as quickly as possible. So, kind of crazy what they can come up with as far as excuses to pull you over.
Absolutely. So when it comes to this specific case, generally when you're highway patrol, something like that, you don't want to make a stop on reasonable articulable suspicion. Because that makes things really shaky for you as a cop, or at least it should. You want firm probable cause. You want something to cite them with. But as you hear on the dash cam, he doesn't really have anything to cite him with. He's trying to set up reasonable articulable suspicion. Which is why he's saying he was following too close, he was going under the speed limit. He's trying to set up suspicion, not probable cause. But this is a retired Marine that was traveling from Texas to California to go see his daughters. He had his entire life savings in the car. All of it. And
I will say that this aspect of things confuses me. Why do so many people, why are they carrying around this much money and trusting police officers?
Listen, a lot of us that spent time in the military, we feel a sort of brotherhood or sisterhood with cops. Because,
don't you got them in the military too?
Yeah, we do, but generally most of us don't fucking see them.
I don't know. I struggle with it. Maybe it's because I ran into an asshole cop young, but I don't understand why so many people don't think that the cops will rob them blind. And I guess I'm not trying to victim blame. I just don't understand why this isn't more common knowledge.
If it hadn't been for my interaction with Hillary back in 2010, I probably would have still, or would just now be coming into the opinion of cops are bad.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
but Hillary put me on that track really early.
I have never met a cop that wasn't involved in being an asshole at the time I was interacting with them. And this is one time I was walking with my bearded dragon, and a police officer pulled his gun on my lizard. And that's just like what I consider to be typical cop behavior. Anyway, sorry, we're watching a video.
No, it's absolutely fine. So he's traveling. He's outside Reno. The cop stops him for no probable cause, but reasonable articulable suspicion, because he did set up two factors that could lead a reasonable person to believe that crime is afoot. But in the mind of this truck driver, I wouldn't have believed crime was afoot. I just think he was an idiot driver. He's driving too close, he's driving too slow. So he's either an asshole or an idiot. One of the two, but I generally wouldn't think crime's afoot.
It gets to a point where it comes around full circle because cops look at everyone that they don't like as doing crime and being criminals, or like anyone that they see acting suspiciously as doing crime and being criminals. But then it comes full circle to where now they're so suspicious of everyone that they think even people that are not doing crime are being suspicious or criminals and doing crime, because obviously the people that are acting too correct in their presence are doing it so that they don't draw attention to themselves, you know? Like it's like literally there's no way to behave around cops. It will lead them to not look at you suspiciously at this point.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. Let's see. Let's look here. So 24
You
minutes.
head out to a traffic stop, or are you busy on that other stuff on today? So if I'm still searching a car, but big bundle of money, it says probably at least 100,000.
That interaction.
Okay, so cop says there's at least $100,000 in the car. Now, this prior service Marine voluntarily let them search the car. He did not stand on his rights. They did not have probable cause. Having a large amount of money does not give you probable cause. And exercising your rights does not provide probable cause. And while cars do not have the same level of privacy under the Fourth Amendment that houses do, there is still privacy concerns, and so they do have to obtain, at minimum, probable cause in order to search vehicles. And I'm hoping that one day very soon we're going to stop playing this game with the courts saying that, oh, well, sniffer dogs provide probable cause. Because 97% of all open air sniffs are false positives.
Dogs are very excitable and they don't speak English.
No, they respond to handler tone.
100%. Yeah, that is exactly what I was saying. I remember I had a dog point at me at the airport once, and I explained to the person that I had an open pack of biscuits, and they tried to tell me that they could trade the beagle out of a beagle because that's what the sniffer dog was. And I said, I don't think you can. And it turned out the dog wanted my biscuits.
The last clip that I have, coincidentally, is an airport. And it's also being handled by the Institute for Justice. If anyone does not know what IJ is, they are an organization that does nothing but pro bono work on cases they believe they can win and change court precedent over. They have several cases in front of the Supreme Court right now, including one that may be able to overturn eminent domain. But IJ does all of their work on donations alone. They do not ask for compensation from their clients, and if their clients are awarded settlements in cases that they win, they don't ask for any of that money either.
That's nice.
So IJ has this video, and it's from 5 months ago. It's called "The DEA Caught Red-Handed Airport Intimidation." And it's along the exact same lines where these state government, these government actors are now trying to seize someone's property. And this happens daily, especially in Atlanta, Georgia.
I think it became kind of more and more shocking as he began to be very aggressive towards me when I declined his search. I am the government was his quote there.
Where's your bag at?
I don't consent to search, sir.
You don't have to consent. Where's your backpack at? Where is it? Under your seat?
It got put away, but I don't consent to being searched.
I don't care what this is.
I don't care. I don't care. Well, you better fucking care. Because I'm telling you, there's a point at which the citizens of this country are going to get fed the fuck up. And the courts aren't, the courts aren't really doing jack shit about this, and there's only one legislature in the country thus far that has taken away qualified immunity from state actors. And that's New Mexico. And if more states don't fall in line really fast and enough citizens get fed up, we're talking about the absolute end of the federal government.
We could be leading up into the kind of social climate too that led to the uprising that we had over George Floyd. And if you replace that with another case, like, I don't know, a Marine getting robbed of his life savings, that's even more viral, like you could definitely see that happening,
Absolutely.
For years, the Institute for Justice has represented innocent travelers who had cash illegally seized from them at our nation's airports. Often acting on little or no information, Federal Drug Enforcement Administration agents target certain travelers and bully them into letting their bags be searched. Recently, a flyer captured the DEA's unconstitutional tactics on camera. This is the most complete footage we have ever seen.
Set your bag down and then you can walk on the plane. You can do that, but you can't take it back.
You're not with the, what do you call it? I've seen these like videos on YouTube. You're not with the...
I'm the DEA. I'm the government.
That's great.
I'm the government.
Like legal ability to search I was in Cincinnati on a business trip, and I got sick the prior night, so I had to rebook my flight to a last-minute flight back to New York. He had basically just asked me for ID and to search, if he could search my bags. And when I started to decline, he pulled out his badge and said that he was with the DEA. I'd almost imagine that this had to be some kind of mix-up.
After David refused consent to the DEA agent, he should have been allowed on his flight. But the footage shows that the agent instead chose to double down on violating David's rights. The DEA agent claimed that he could keep and search David's bag. But that's just not true. The Fourth Amendment protects the stuff in your bag just as much as the stuff in your pockets.
I told the officer, I've seen this on YouTube before, this is a very weird thing, I'm aware of what you guys are doing right now. I was scared that he would do something worse with my bag in his custody. So when he threatened to take my bag to, back to the police area, wherever he was going to take it, I was worried that he might do something worse, like plant evidence within my bag, which would be the absolute worst case scenario.
Am I being detained right now?
Mind you, take a look at this DEA agent. He's not wearing a body cam. So if he did plant evidence in your bag, there ain't shit you can do with it.
I think this guy is wise not to let his bag out of his sight.
He is wise not to let his
over
bag.
the loudspeaker all the time not to do that too. So he's just listening to the airport voice lady.
Not you, but your
Am
bag.
I free to go?
Not your bag. I've told you like 20 times. You can't do that.
Am I being detained?
Robert,
Then am I free to go?
Timeout. David was completely within his rights to refuse to let his bag be searched, but it is risky to simply ignore law enforcement officers and board your plane. Before leaving an encounter with law enforcement officers, we recommend asking if you're being detained. If they say yes, cooperate with the officer's lawful commands, and if they try to take your bag away to search it, do not attempt to resist with force or violence, but do not say you consent. If they say no, then you're free to leave. Okay, now back to the action. The agent then followed David onto the plane, grabbed another passenger's bag, and tried to walk off with it.
Oh, that's my. Hey.
That's yours. Where's your bag at?
I don't consent to search, sir.
You don't have to consent. Where's your backpack at?
And so I thought the plane was going to take off because we were well past the kind of gate closing time at the time he boarded.
You want to watch the dog?
What?
So he's going to do an open air sniff with a dog of a fucking bag in order to obtain probable cause to search the bag. But he had no reason.
And how much?
Go ahead.
They didn't show his face at all, but how much do you want to bet that he's of a minority ethnicity as well?
Oh yeah,
So
he's definitely either South Korean or Japanese of ethnic descent. I can almost guarantee it.
Yes,
You wanna
please.
sit in your seat?
I would like to watch
Well,
the
then
dog.
come out. Up to you, man.
Now, mind you, in order to detain a person or their property, you must first have reasonable articulable suspicion, which this DEA agent didn't have. Then, in order to search property that you've detained or seized, you must then have probable cause, which, if you don't at least have reasonable articulable suspicion, you don't get probable cause. Now, if you witness a crime in action, that gives you probable cause. But if you didn't witness a crime, and there's no reasonable articulable suspicion, you cannot just fabricate probable cause using an open air sniff. It doesn't work.
I have a feeling he's gonna try anyway.
Well, I followed.
Say again?
I said I have a feeling he's gonna try anyway.
Oh, he is. And I'm fairly certain that this guy missed his fucking plane because of this DEA agent.
Him off the plane because he had my backpack, and I wasn't going to leave an airport with my work laptop, my passport, a lot of my documentation from work, and so I didn't have a choice.
The agent again insists that he does not need David's consent to take his bag. But without probable cause of a crime, DEA agents cannot seize your belongings against your will. Period.
Okay, so when you buy a last minute ticket, we get alerts. We come out to any and all flights. Doesn't matter who you are, race, sex, nothing, right?
Yeah.
We come out and we talk to those people, which I tried to do to you, but you wouldn't allow me to do it.
Am I under suspicion of a crime right now? Do you have probable cause?
So we have a lot of money and drugs going out of every airport to New York.
Okay.
It's an influx of it.
Okay.
Okay? So that's my...
Am I being suspected of a crime? I just want this to be reported.
I don't know.
The DEA hires informants to alert agents when someone purchases a last-minute ticket.
Honestly speaking,
Do you know he does?
Do you honestly think that someone trying to smuggle drugs on an airplane is going to buy a last-minute ticket?
No.
No, they're going to plan. Whoever is selling those drugs and having them run to, say, New York, like this DEA agent infers or says, they're going to plan this out meticulously. They're going to get a mule. They're going to buy a flight ahead, like weeks ahead, and then the mule is going to be handed the ticket and sent off to do their job. They're not going to buy a last fucking minute ticket. It doesn't work. People who buy last minute tickets are almost always either irresponsible people that sleep in and miss their fucking flights, or people that get held over because of unforeseeable delays by airports, airlines.
Just life itself. Sometimes life gets in the way and you need a last minute ticket. Like, there ain't nothing wrong with that. It happens.
I mean, my great aunt passed away when I was 15 years old. We bought tickets that day and we left from Iowa all the way down to Tennessee. It happens.
Yeah, I can think of 100 reasons right now, just off the top of my head, that would cause someone to need to buy a last minute ticket. Like, that's a crazy thing to assume.
I mean, just imagine a family who just experienced a death in their family. All members of this family buy last minute tickets across the country to like New York. And
or an impending death too. When my grandmother died, my mom was on a business trip, and for a while she didn't end up coming back for it, but it was a sudden health event, and it was about a day where my grandmother was still alive, but we knew that she wasn't going to make it, and my mom would have been one of those people buying a last minute ticket. She ended up deciding to not for personal reasons, but like, what, now she's drug smuggling because she wanted to maybe see her mother for the last time alive? Like, come on.
That's what the DEA thinks. But it doesn't work like that. Honestly, it does not work that way.
To a known center of drug activity, which is most major American cities. Of course, buying a last-minute ticket isn't probable cause of a crime. That's why the agent keeps refusing to identify any crime that David is suspected of. If you have to take a last-minute flight for work or to visit a sick loved one, guess what? You'd be on this list too.
Do you have probable cause for a search?
I have probable cause for a dog to walk up and smell your bag. Yes.
My lawyers are going to be taking this up with you.
You didn't take your bag off like I asked you to.
I don't have to. I asked you if I was being detained, and I can walk away if not.
You can, yes,
I
but not
follow
your
the
bag.
Constitution
Your
like
bag was
very
the
vigorously.
problem. I asked you to put your bag down.
You don't have rights to my bag. I don't know who you are.
So I was waiting by the jet bridge for about 5 minutes, and I remember seeing the dog handler pop up through one of the kind of airport gates. And at first, he pointed the dog towards my bag, and the dog took a smell and just ran straight past it. A few seconds later, he started, clicking his fingers, and the dog started coming back, and I saw him basically gesture at my bag.
He signaled the dog.
Yeah, my dog would do anything to make me happy. And he just told the dog what would make him happy.
Yeah.
And it's very I have 3 dogs, and it blows my mind that anyone who owns dogs would ever think that they would be a reliable search tool for this exact reason. They're so perceptive to what their humans want from them. And I don't know if non-dog owners realize how perceptive they are and how little it would take to signal a dog too. Because maybe some owners see that video, or some non-dog owners would see that video and not pick up on any signals that the handler is giving. But as a dog owner, it's obvious to me, so I wonder if people are just not dog owners and they just don't even realize how easy it is to manipulate a dog's behavior.
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't trust any judge that doesn't have a dog. And I especially don't trust judges that do have dogs that uphold this bullshit.
Yeah, it just, I told a story earlier about a beagle, which I own a beagle, for the listeners who don't know. And I've owned beagles my entire life. And it's not just that they're super perceptive. Sometimes, like, dogs want snacks. And they're motivated by doggy things. And there's no way for you to get it through to a dog that they're not allowed to have their little urges. You know what I mean? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can say that they're a bad dog if they, like the dog at the airport, wanted a freshly opened package of biscuits, and probably smelled my dogs on me too. I'm sure that was a component in it. Dog person, freshly opened biscuits, right?
Yep.
Anyway, and so, like, there's dogs are just not good for this kind of stuff.
I mean, whenever I encounter dogs out, in my daily life, dogs come right up to me because they smell my 2 dogs. They know I'm safe. They know I'm a
They
safe
do.
person to be around. And
They
so,
all seem to know I'm a sucker, and they all know that if I had a treat, I would give it to them. They all know it immediately upon seeing me.
mm-hmm.
Number one. You see that? You got it recorded. Don't edit that part out of the video either.
Yeah, don't edit that part out of the video either.
The Supreme Court has held that agents can't extend a traffic stop to make someone wait for a drug dog unless they have probable cause. The same should hold true at an airport. And it's not like drug dogs are infallible. In fact, dog searches have a high false positive rate. As it turns out, man's best friend is often more invested in pleasing their handler than anything else.
Be alerted on your bag. Okay. Now this is your legal right. You can allow us to look at it, or you can tell me no, and we can write a search warrant. We can apply for one. I don't know if we get one or not, but we'll apply for one.
I don't consent to being searched.
So you don't want us to search your bag either?
Don't consent to be searched.
Okay. All right. Well, then we got to take your bag back. So do you want to sit with us at the PD while we try to get a warrant on your bag today? What do you want to do?
I don't consent to being searched, sir. I'm sorry.
With the questionable dog alert, The agent now claims that he can easily get a warrant to search the bag. David continues to refuse to consent to a search.
Mind you, in the eyes of the courts, they don't need a warrant. All they need is probable cause. But now the cop is saying, oh, well, now we've got the open air sniff and they hit, and so we have probable cause to get a warrant. You don't need to get a warrant. What you have to do in the eyes of the court is to conduct your search and then write up your report and then apply for the warrant. Because the only time in which you must apply for a warrant before you do a search is with a house, with someone's home. You don't have to do it with their person. You don't have to do it with their physical property that's on their person. You don't have to do it with their car. You only have to do it with their house. Courts have upheld this over and over and over. Your house is your castle. Everything else is fair game. As long as you have probable cause, you don't have to come to us with a warrant. If he had probable cause, he could have searched the bag right then and there. But he knows he doesn't. Okay.
Our law, we know what we're doing out here and what we can and cannot do. Okay. It's a piece of paper that will literally stay with us. It just says that you're allowing us to search it. If you want to sign your name that says that we can search it, which I don't know why it's so difficult, we'll search it. If not, we're going to do the same thing I just told you. I'm not going to repeat all over again. Think about it for a minute. I know you're irritated. I have a phone. Yeah. I know you're annoyed. And I'm annoyed too that you caused such a scene for something so silly.
Defending your constitutional rights is not silly. If something like this ever happens to you, visit ij.org and let us know.
In the moment, I felt extremely violated by his actions. I felt extremely angry and extremely shocked by what happened.
The law actually doesn't distinguish between bodily property. I'm being detained now because my bag is taken from my property.
So you're not out in the public. You're in an airport. And
this is a public area for what it's worth.
Okay, so anything outside of your home, even on private property, is still considered public. Anywhere that a mass group of people has license to be is public. It may be what the courts consider pseudo-public property, in which it's not actual public property, but everyone has license to be there until you're denied license to be there by the owners. The courts are still going to view it as public property. So yes, he is being detained in public, and this cop is trying to make, or this agent is trying to make this stupid distinction that you're not being detained, your bag is being detained. But you don't detain a bag, you seize a bag. And the only way in which you can seize a bag is by detaining the person of which owns it.
Yeah, this is just him playing jumping jacks with words because somebody told him no and he didn't like it.
I believe this case is still ongoing. So I will absolutely provide further updates whenever I get them. I'm constantly looking at case updates on the Institute for Justice website. It's a great place to go if you want to donate. Please do. Give me 1 second.
I regularly donate to Wikipedia, which, circling back to our earlier discussion, Elon Musk has recently tried to get people to stop donating to. So I thought I would also mention them.
Where is this?
Wikipedia. Musk has taken issue with them existing.
Yeah, of course, it's Elon Musk. Of course he does.
I assume it's because he can't by removing something that he doesn't want on there or something along
And
those
he
lines.
probably mentioned something that hurts his ego.
Apologies. My dog was barking at a delivery person.
Mine was going off earlier, but I don't think you guys heard her.
Okay, so the last thing in all of this is qualified immunity. The last piece of this puzzle is all about qualified immunity. And the problem with everything is that qualified immunity basically says unless it is clearly established law, then cops have qualified immunity. They are immune to civil action in the courts. They can't be punished. And so this silly standard basically makes it so that you can never create a case in which these officers are ever going to be held to account. You're never going to get it to the Supreme Court because these cops are always going to get qualified immunity unless they violate one of the old standards that have already been set, like Terry or Pennsylvania versus Mims or Gonzalez versus is it California? I can't remember the free speech case where a guy had fuck the draft. Cohen versus California. Landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court in 1971, holding that the First Amendment prevented the conviction of Paul Robert Cohen for the crime of disturbing the peace by wearing a jacket displaying "fuck the draft" in the public corridors of a California courthouse. So cases like that long established things that were already built on other cases like Barnett versus the West Virginia State Board of Education or Tinker versus West Des Moines. I mean, unless you're supporting your case based on those, the courts are going to look favorably on those because, hey, we have widely set precedent on these cases, but anything with a new set of facts, especially surrounding Fourth Amendment, the court doesn't like touching those. Especially now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned. And that, regardless of whoever's feelings, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, it doesn't matter. That overturn was a bad decision. Roe versus Wade properly read in the right to privacy in the 4th and 14th Amendments. It properly read in the right to privacy, and now overturning Roe versus Wade, you've now opened up a bunch of cases based on the right to privacy, including Fourth Amendment cases, where cars are getting searched, people's firearms are getting taken off of their bodies, when the cop has no reasonable belief of danger. You're doing away with everything that we have established on the back of Roe. It's not just medical cases that were built on Roe. It was all privacy cases in the US.
I think a lot of people in America don't understand the fact that laws are like compounding like that, and I think that that's something that just needs to be, that's like a detail that needs to be spread whenever we have this conversation, because you know, you could be against the most overt reason for a law for whatever reason, but you need to consider the other laws that would be impacted if that ruling was overturned the way that it was with Roe. And I don't think people realize how much is built on itself in our legal system in America.
And yeah, this goes back to things that really ought to be taught in our education system, and not just taught, but taught to make sure that there's comprehension. Like, we shouldn't have children leaving our freely given educational system without knowing our goddamn laws and how they work, because like we already have them there and we're educating them, so we should educate them.
I I'm just flabbergasted that for so long citizens did not take notice of what was going on right under their own fucking noses. But at the exact same time, I can't be surprised, because humans love to put their heads in the fucking sand.
So true. So true. We love to ignore a clear and present danger. If there's nothing we really feel like we can do anything about, which this kind of does fall under, there's not a lot of people don't look at this issue and think, well, here's what I can do about it. And that kind of makes it one of those things that it's easier, therefore, just to ignore.
At at some point, something has to give, and I'm telling you, if we go for another year or two down this same path that we have been going, the citizens are going to get fed up. It's not the legislature that's going to fix things. It's not the executive that's going to fix things. Definitely not the courts that are going to fix things. The citizens are going to revolt. And at some point there won't be left and right. There will be a coalition between left and right, liberty-loving citizens that say, we're not playing by your rules anymore. You get in line, or we're removing you from power. And we're not removing you from power via the tools that you've given us. We're removing you from power via the tools that our forefathers gave us.
Yeah, and then the police comes out and kills 100,000 protesters.
Well, they can try, but
I'm just saying. There's definitely going to be protester violence, because that's what the police does against protesters, even if they're peaceful. So if it's like a violent protest, oh yeah, that's going to be very violent from the police, if you ask me.
Well, the whole thing about the way the U.S. was born is the U.S. was born in violence. I mean, we threw shit off of a boat.
Okay, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm not saying you should do anything peacefully. I'm just saying the police is definitely going to retaliate, and it's not going to be really good. So it's definitely something to consider, because they've literally militarized the police for cases like these.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that as Americans, we all already knew that the police were going to attack us and just hadn't thought to mention it, because that's what police do.
But
And I'm just saying it. They always do it. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying we've got a very nonchalant attitude about it because we're very used to it now. Like
when
that's what our police do. We speak up and our police attack us.
when it comes down to it, there aren't going to be protests in a couple years. There's going to be violent revolt. I'm not
I like
saying.
Favorite thing,
Go ahead.
my favorite thing lately to say to people is to compare like us today to the founding fathers. Like I got into it on Reddit recently with someone about the UHC shooting, and I was like honestly all of these bootlickers and all of these people that back the police and the government, they they sound like loyalists. They sound like the loyalists that were against our founding fathers to me. And
Mhm.
it's my favorite thing to point that out to them because that pisses them off like nobody's business. But it's true, right? Like you sound like someone who would have supported the king back in 1776.
A
Like
lot
you
of
do.
bootlickers sound like monarchist and they don't know it.
Well, and of course, Liz, you've said a couple times now that you are really a fan of Jesus flipping tables. Well,
You know, it's my favorite part of the Bible is
well,
when he flips those fucking tables.
that's exactly what the founding fathers did at the Boston Tea Party. I mean, they didn't flip tables. They threw barrels of tea over the side of fucking boats. They broke locks. They destroyed boats. They destroyed fucking property coming from England that was owned by government actors.
Sometimes you got to snatch whips and flip tables. 100%.
So
Build the
there
tables and then flip them in Jesus'
we've
case.
Yeah, this is like the equivalent of them. And when they just say
we've
trust the system, they're just asking you to like go deliver a referendum to the king and be like, please give independence.
so places like Portland, everyone remembers the Chaz.
Of course.
Okay.
But that was in Seattle.
Oh, thank you, Seattle.
No
But
problem. I had just moved out of Portland and I was closely following it.
Places where Antifa struck only government entities, I'm not specifically okay with it yet because it's a wholly left thing. But as soon as Antifa started hitting businesses, that's too far. Businesses that are not directly involved or owned by government actors, I've got a problem with it. But if you're only
Were those
hitting
Antifa though? Do we know for sure?
no,
Could they have been plants?
they could have been plants, and obviously I see it now more than ever that most of the violent action that we see around a lot of these controversies in the country, they're probably fucking feds.
According to people that I may or may not know, it was not Antifa.
Okay.
Okay.
The reason I ask is just I honestly don't trust our government not to. You look at and how at every opportunity in even other countries where socialism was established to some degree, the US has a bad track record of trying to overthrow those governments. So to me, it doesn't make any sense to assume that they wouldn't be doing the same thing for any movements here within America. That's just my sort of viewpoint on it.
Honestly, like the funniest part to me is that Stalin was way more effective as actually killing socialists than the US ever was because Humanitarian International and all
absolutely.
that. And because that's something I actually never forgive the USSR for, like ever. They killed like any chance of any socialist movement within like the next 100 years, if we're being real.
I almost think what what the way that the American government handles it is a bit more sinister for that reason. Because if you think about it, if rather than rounding up everyone of a political party and, you know, sending them away to camps or killing them or whatever the case is, if instead of doing that, you so successfully demonize them within the population of the citizens of your country, then you almost kill the idea more effectively that way than just slaughtering the
Like,
people.
but that's like the thing because what happened basically was like the USSR was funding ML militias, which they're not socialist, but I won't get into that. Was funding Stalinists, right? And then the US and like the West generally is also doing anti-socialist propaganda. So like it's not fun if you're an actual socialist because you either have to side with the people who support rolling tanks into Hungary, or you have to be super anti-communist to appeal to the US.
Well,
There's no winning.
I hate to cut this off, but it is now 2 in the afternoon, which means we have been live for 2 hours. This means that we are coming to the end of the show. Before we sign out, Ro wanted to say that she had a lot of problems with the law herself. And that was in our local comments. With that all said, I'm sorry for cutting you off, Natalia, but we do have to sign out. I'm going to go ahead and final comments. Let's go ahead and start with Natalia.
I had to just want to like continue what I was saying.
Just you know, sum up what you think about today.
Oh, that's like a lot of legal stuff. I honestly don't understand because I'm not in the US. But I mean, generally, yes, that's always something I say. The police is awful. It's just a state-funded gang, and this is just the truth everywhere you go. Like, I don't think you will find anywhere where they're just not like a super corrupt police that basically acts as a criminal gang. Because even here, like, if the police stops you on the road, you're like most likely going to have to bribe them. So yeah, it's just basically my take. Fuck the police, pretty much.
Okay, and then, of course, Haley, thoughts on today?
ACAB, the police are never on your side, and I would like to remind everyone, all of these problems that we discuss are super interconnected. So we looked at, you know, police and police corruption today, but this is not an independent problem in our country and the world, and it is not a problem that is seen in a vacuum. So all of these topics that we discuss, keep in mind that they all interconnect, and maybe one should do a little bit of reflection on how they connect and how this web is all overlapping on itself.
Absolutely. Liz?
I just want to reiterate the idea that the thin blue line stuff and saying the police can do no wrong and propping up authority is fundamentally not American and unpatriotic and really goes against the founding values of our country. And I just would like to throw that out there for people who think that supporting the police is patriotic. It's really not. And that's all.
Okay. With that, we are going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to basically say that's everyone's good nights for now. And I'm going to play the outro music for everyone. We will be back next week. The 4th, I believe. Yes, it's the 4th. The show will once again be hosted on my server, and in perpetuity will be hosted every other week on opposite servers. With that said, we will see everyone next week. Love y'all, and goodbye.